The area that came to be known as Waterford in Racine County was ceded to the U.S. government by the Potawatomi tribe back in 1833. From there, American settlers arrived and the community grew. But with the passing of nearly 2 centuries, pieces of that origin story have faded. Until now. Jenna Wells meets a group of local residents reviving a once-forgotten spot in our Sunday morning spotlight.
What looks like an empty field off of Waterford's Riverside Drive is actually a slice of small-town history.
Waterford was founded in 1836, and a year later, the founder's grandson died. And so in 1837, the founder and his son-in-law set aside a parcel of land for a village cemetery. The first time it appears on a map is in 1843.
The Old Settlers Cemetery, created and abandoned in the 19th century.
There was no sign, you couldn't see gravestones, and I thought, a lot of people in town didn't even know there was a cemetery.
The cemetery's neglect bothered Judy Gambrell, a genealogist and the chairwoman of the Waterford Historic Sites Committee.
This is the history of Waterford. The people who are buried here, or were buried here at one time, were the people who made this village possible. Nobody would be here if it weren't for those people.
4 years ago, she went to the village with her restoration plan, teaming up with historian Bob Garripy.
We started out with just a couple of us, and all of a sudden said, oh, I know something about that, or I know something about that. So now we got a whole bunch of people that have expertise in different areas, and we all lean on one another to get the right stuff.
The project grew with interested volunteers like genealogist Kristen Hanela.
We have groups of people. Some are the historians, some are genealogists. We have about 5 genealogists. They're going through records and obituaries and trying to find out who may still be buried here.
This summer, they're getting down and dirty, digging up pieces of stones, many buried and vandalized over the years.
And there's only 3 tombstones that are still intact and about 20 that are broken.
It's likely there are many more still to be found.
Right behind me is a pond, and I happen to know kids from Waterford who used to ride the stones down into the pond. So we know there's stones there. It's privately owned. We're hoping the owner will at some point allow us to go down and retrieve the stones. But we have no idea how many there are.
They have to do a lot of investigative work to archive the history of the cemetery. The village doesn't have any records. They're not sure if any even exist.
You're playing detective, and that's kind of what being a historian's about. You travel where the information is leading you. We can start hauling them to the trailer.
Hanela has been scouring through death records, obits, and family histories, trying to put names to those that were buried.
I believe I'm up to 30 known people that are for sure here, and the rest we have to figure out. They looked in death, no more, may fear to die.
The committee connected with a local scientist who used ground-penetrating radar over the area.
Cool, because you can see the pictures, and you can see where there are indentations, where there are grave sites.
Okay, good.
He found 76 probable grave sites.
Each hidden grave site now marked with a red puck.
He's in.
By the end of the project, the identified tombstones will be cleaned and replaced. As for the unidentified sites,
so we're going to be making tombstones that say unknown, so that we can always have a record of where those 76 sites are.
The broken tombstones will still be on display.
We want to do what's called a memorial wall, and it's either brick or concrete, and we will embed the tombstones in there that are broken.
Gambrell also plans to revamp an old gate she was gifted in the 70s to serve as a memorial outside the cemetery.
And it's an arched gate with owls in it. And owls are considered by many cultures to be guardians of the dead. That's why the owls don't sleep at night.
While the village plans to donate to the project next year, Gambrell chose to cover most of the costs out of her own pocket.
I always say I'm 77 years old and I want to be in good stead with the Lord, so I'm happy to do this.
The end goal is to recreate what the cemetery was meant to be.
A place to reflect that there was a past here and what it meant. People lived in a different time under totally different circumstances, and to be in awe of that. I am.
It will still take a few years and plenty of hard work to complete the restoration. A labor of love, restoring the past to last into Waterford's future.
This is a place to be honored and respected and not desecrated. And by putting up our signage and our memorial gate and the fence, this should let everybody know who rides by here that these were the pioneers that set this place up. There we go.
We're here for a reason, and we should not be forgotten.